Graham.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for taking your time
No problem.
talking to us.
No worries,
So,
no problem.
why don't you start telling us a little bit about what's new this year for BMD, and just kind of go through a little bit about your new products for us.
Okay. Well, obviously we have 6 gig SDI this year, which is something we've been working on for a couple of years, and we have a whole range of products, live production switches, monitoring, recording, deck, hyperdeck recording. So really the whole workflow for live production for Ultra HD, which I think is a big thing for us because screens are getting larger, computer screens are getting higher resolution, so we need more than high definition now. And I think with 6 gig SDI, we've got a product that can operate in SD, HD, and then just switch to Ultra HD whenever the customer needs it. So they're great products just to buy for even HD work, but then you can do Ultra HD when you need to. So that's really exciting, and I think that's going to be good. Obviously, we've done Ultra HD on the post-production side with DaVinci and our capture cards, and there's lots of cameras around. But this year, we've done it on the live production side. And when you think about various venues like rock concerts where they've got big screens, you can use Ultra HD today to drive those giant screens and projectors. So I think it's exciting. But obviously, we need cameras to feed the Ultra HD. So we've got a new 4K camera, which is $4,000. It's Ultra HD. It's got a 6 gig SDI output, so you can feed that into the switcher and do live production, but also records Ultra HD and ProRes files on a solid state disk, so you can use it for post-production as well. So it's kind of a camera that's good for both. And of course, we've got a few normal high definition products too. Everything's not Ultra HD. So we've got a beautiful little product called SmartScope Duo. We've taken our Smart View Duo monitors. Sorry, it's a bit late in the show. And we've put processing in them to do waveform monitoring. So we've got waveform vector, RGB parade, YEV parade, histogram, and audio scopes. And you can just select them. So you can have a picture view or you can have a scope. And it's really easy to use, and everyone's loved it. It's been swamped by people because, for $1,000 you got waveform vector scopes or full waveform monitoring, dual screen in one 3-rack unit device. So that's really nice. And the other thing we've done, there's a bunch of other little things, of course. I mean, there's, I think, 15 or different products. But I think one of the products that's got really a lot of excitement is our Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It's a very small camera. We've taken essentially our Blackmagic Cinema camera and worked out how small could we make it. And it literally is about the size of an iPhone in size. But it's got a nice big handle on it. It's got micro Four Thirds lens mount, so you can put beautiful optics on. It's a Super 16mm digital cinema camera in a small size. So I think if you put a Super 16 lens on it, it's exactly like you're shooting Super 16 film. It's 13 stops of dynamic range. It's not as sharp as our 2.5K Blackmagic Cinema camera, but it looks pretty close. It's pretty nice because it's a HD resolution sensor. But you can put any kind of low-cost optics on it because it is micro Four Thirds. So you can put little pancake lens, or you can put PL mount. We've got a giant ARRI lens on the thing on the booth, so it can be big as well. Because I think a big camera can never be smaller, but a small camera can be bigger, and that's really exciting. So I think it's going to, be great for personal use, for people who just want to shoot personal things in a really cinematic quality. I mean, I made the product because I wanted to film my family, and the current camera we have I felt was a little bit big for that kind of use. So it was kind of almost a personal, greedy reason for wanting it. But then you realise how many other things you can use it for. Because it literally looks like a little still camera, but it's a whole digital cinema camera packed into that size. So everyone's been really shocked about how small it is and the picture quality. The screen is really high resolution, so it's beautiful quality. It records to an SD card in ProRes and a lossless RAW Cinema DNG. So it's just got everything everybody's wanted. So I think it's really a lot of fun. It's $1,000, so it's $995, so it's not even that expensive. I hope that film students buy them and use them, and then one day they get that break. They can hire a lens for a couple $100 and rig it out fully, do their job, and grow. And that's the great thing about it. You can use it small, but you can use it big, and it's really exciting.
Pocket camera is really interesting. I myself want to have one. I'd like you to talk more about a little bit about your new 4K camera.
Yep.
Do you want to share with our audience about why do you have a new camera? I mean, you just announced your first camera last NAB. Right now, I think you started shipping maybe only a few months ago, right?
Well, we actually started shipping in the first week of August, so we missed our ship date by 1 week. So we pretty much started shipping when we wanted to, and then what we had was a supply problem. After about a week, we found that the camera started failing suddenly, and we found contamination of the sensors. So we started working with a sensor manufacturer to find out why that was happening, and it turned out it was on the glass that was on the front of the sensor. And it took a lot longer to fix. I mean, the problem with companies that outsource is they don't know often how to fix problems. So in the end, we got in there and actually worked out how to fix the problem, how to test for the problems and things like that. So, I kept people up to date on what was going on, and it was sad because some people got the camera and they were posting video from it, and everyone was like shocked and amazed, but no one else could get one. And it was really quite frustrating for them, and it was really disappointing for us because we had this beautiful product sitting there. We had a couple we could use ourselves, and we're walking around filming and shooting with it, and we can't make them for people, and it's finished. It's sitting there as a finished design. But we got busy doing software updates and adding new features, but it was very frustrating. It took about 4 to 5 months to fix it. So then we started shipping again, and it's been great, and we've shipped thousands of cameras, but that was very, very frustrating. And I think, the biggest companies in the world can have these problems. I mean, we can have it, when you have a supply issue. I mean, Boeing's had a supply issue with the 787 and batteries. They started shipping, they started getting them out there, everyone loves their product, it's innovative, then something goes wrong. So it can happen, and thankfully it doesn't really ever happen very often. I mean, we do very good checking of everything, but who would have assumed that suddenly you'd get a quality problem when they're initially making the product fine, and then suddenly something happens. So that was frustrating, but we've had a lot of cameras out there, and people have done some amazing work. I mean, really shockingly beautiful work, and they love the look of the camera, they love the color science, they love the work we've done to get the look, and that's been humbling and exciting. So the 4K camera, where does that fit? Well, we had a whole Ultra HD workflow we're trying to do. Ultra HD televisions are shipping. We really actually wanted an Ultra HD live camera, but then we realized, well, the cameras can do both. It can record, but it can output 6 gig. So it really is a camera that can do both. It doesn't have quite the contrast range of the 2.5K camera. It's 12 stops versus 13 stops. So it's different, but it's a very nice camera. It's in the same body as we have in the 2.5K camera. It's $4,000, so it's a bit more expensive, but you can use all the same accessories, and it's nice. It's a nice picture. It really looks beautiful.
So basically you're selling the old camera and the new camera at the same time, so people can buy
of course,
either the old or the new one.
If I was shooting HD, my preference would be to use the 2.5K camera, because it's got a bigger screen than the small camera. It's sharper because it's 2.5K, so I can remove. It compensates for any slight bail loss. So it's a very beautiful look. It's 13 stops. It really has the best look if you're working in HD. That's the best quality camera if you're working in HD. If I'm doing Ultra HD, then I'd use the 4K camera. It doesn't quite have the dynamic range, so it doesn't quite have the look of the 2.5K camera. But obviously, most of the time you don't need that, so you can get beautiful pictures and it's what we call it a Blackmagic production camera, because it's really for general production work, and it's much better than a normal video camera as far as dynamic range goes, but it doesn't approach the current 2.5K camera. If I'm moving around or I'm mobile, then I'd choose the pocket camera. And in fact, at the show, I have a pocket camera with me. I didn't bring the bigger one because I don't check in my bag. I just have a carry-on suitcase. So the small camera is so tiny, I can put it in there, and I can put a spare lens in there, and some batteries and a charger, and it's much more compact. So when I'm traveling, or when at Easter, when my kids had little chocolate eggs, I pulled out the camera and filmed them, because that's what it's nice. It's just you've got it there all the time with you. So I think the pocket camera is great for that. But my preference would be, if I was shooting HD, would be the 2.5K camera. If I'm doing Ultra HD, it would be the 4K camera. If I'm moving around a lot and I'm doing lots of stuff that I'd always have the pocket camera with me. So they've got different needs, and that's why we've developed the 3 models, because they really have very different purposes.
So throughout the years, we actually seen lots of innovations happening here in Blackmagic Designs.
Yeah.
So what's actually behind, what's going on in your mind? I mean, when you're developing new products, can you share the philosophy of Blackmagic Design for us and with us?
I guess the thing that really annoyed me about post-production, when I worked in post-production, in fact, I worked in Singapore in the early 90s, and I was fixing telecines, and we own Cintel now, funny enough, and we own DaVinci, and so it's quite funny. But the thing that annoyed me about this industry is how expensive things were, of course, but the quality level. I'd look at products and it would just be very frustrating. I mean, my job was to fix them all the time. I mean, you had a couple of edit suites in the post house and everything was breaking all the time. And I really just found that frustrating. I really didn't like the quality of things. And I wanted to be able to do things that the products wouldn't let me do. I wanted to be able to capture and play back on a computer and use software tools on the computer to do the work. You know, we hired designers in the post-production company, and they'd do work in Photoshop and then go to the edit suite, and the editor would have to recreate their work. And this was madness. I thought, why can't designers actually do the work? Why can't the creative people dominate and control their environment? I mean, engineers used to buy products off other engineers. That was the way it worked. I mean, I was an engineer, so that felt good, but I'm thinking, well, really the whole focus here is the design and the creative people. I mean, most television products didn't even work on a Mac. Yeah, I remember we bought a router from a router manufacturer. We had to buy their terminal to plug into it, to configure it with a command line. That's not useful for a creative person. That's not friendly. Creative people think about color and, you know, keying and pixels and things. Why can't we make things better quality, something that they can actually buy themselves? You know, we'd have to get an engineer to install it. And so that's the big thing that's been a philosophy. It's been about quality. Can I take the best quality standards that exist and you know, make them available to my friends and creative people using Photoshop and make all these tools work together? And if the quality standard's not there, then we invent it, like 6 gig. You know, we want Ultra HD. HDMI can do Ultra HD, but SDI can't. So we've been pushing the semiconductor manufacturers to make 6 gig parts. We've finally got the 6 gig parts flowing, and then we invent the standard, and we ship it, and we'll submit the standard to the industry to adopt. We did the same thing with 2K through 3 gigabit SDI. So we just do that, you know, but we're always open. Because the other thing I always hated was things closed off, closed ecosystems. I want everything to be open. You know, every one of our products should sell because it's a good product, not because it's the product that works with this other product. And that's the huge thing I see in the industry all the time, is everyone closing things off, running prices right up, quality of products is terrible. I mean, all the companies we've acquired, which is Ecolab, DaVinci, Teranex, and Cintel, all those companies we've been working on quality issues, and they had quality issues. Like, great technology, great products, but you look at it and think it looks like it's been made in a garage. It's not good enough. And it made me angry. I mean, I'm an angry customer. What you see here is what happens when you get an angry customer. If manufacturers don't think customers can get angry and then do something about it, then check out this booth, because this is what an angry customer looks like when they've had 18 years of, you know, revenge. No, I won't say that because that's not really the case, but it's just frustration. 18 years of pure frustration. It's like, God, who makes this? You know, we get Ecolab and we completely redesign the Ecolab products and we make great switches. Then we're looking for optical fiber products to run to the cameras and monitoring and all this stuff. And it's like, none of these products are the right shape. They're not what we need. I mean, and then you realize we've got to make these ourselves. So it's kind of like one thing after another. It's like if people just made things the way they needed to be, then we wouldn't have to make it ourselves. Yeah, we've got great partners who do certain types of products, like panels for DaVinci and things like that. And you're like, oh, great, we don't have to make those. They make great products. And you can be happy with it. But sometimes it's like, my God, this is frustrating. You know, why does someone make the thing that shape and at that price, or with that plastic housing that's just going to get broken? I mean, what is wrong, you know? I don't think some people ever talk to their customer. I mean, they should just build the front of their booth on the corridor and lock it so that nobody can come in, because it does, you know, they don't want to talk to the customers, right? Obviously, you know, keep them out, you know, don't let them in your booth because we're not listening to them anyway. Whereas, you know, I found that really frustrating, and this is what an angry customer looks like. This is what Blackmagic design is. And I always want to remember what it's like to be 16 years old, have nothing, and want to be able to do television work. Everybody wants to work in television. It's exciting. I mean, it's a beautiful medium. It's vision and sound. I mean, how wonderful is that? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful medium. But there's so much politics and strange technologies and things, and people forget what really matters. What matters is beautiful pictures and beautiful design and graphics and broadcast, and, you know, delivering great content to people. That's what really matters, and that's what I'm really focused on.
But the other thing I would like to ask you is, for every time Blackmagic Design release a product or announce a product, the price is always surprised a lot of people. I mean, you know, a lot of times it's very affordable. I mean, could you just tell us about, you know, what's your pricing strategy? I mean, because it's...
funny enough, I don't know. I just know that we build a product. We try not to waste anything. I mean, a good example would be Teranex. We bought Teranex. Now, that was a $90,000 product when you got it fully optioned. Now the fully optioned model from us is $4,000. It's a third of the size. It's got extra connections like HDMI, time code, analog, all that built in. Thunderbolts, you can do an NTSC, deinterlace, upscaling, cadence removal, and capture that as a progressive, high definition file through the Thunderbolt, all in one pass. You can simulate 3D. It can do matching of cameras. So you can have real-time 3D rigs. I mean, you can do all this stuff. Great technology, but we released it for $4,000, and we have one that doesn't do the 3D for $2,000. So the big question is, everyone's like, well, how can you do this? What have you taken out? What's missing? Well, nothing's missing, it's got more stuff. And we pay pretty much similar prices for parts. The parts are what they are, they're all specialist parts. But when I looked at it, there is a lot of design issues. I mean, they would buy power supply modules and solder them down, and those power supply modules are $100. And there's 5 or 6 or 8 of them. They'd buy oscillator modules, and so they did do some things that would add the cost, but they're only getting a couple of $1,000s. So I still look at that and go, I don't know why they're charging 90. I just think that's just what people think in this industry. A lot of people go, hey, that's just what they do. Now, that's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with charging $90,000 if that's what it takes. Our Da Vinci panel's not cheap. It's $30,000, right? It's got all that craftsmanship and all that value in it. And sometimes, you look at some of these big cinema cameras and stuff, for that particular type of market, you have to put that value in it. It costs what it costs. Sometimes, though, that $90,000 price point was because 4 years ago, the technology cost a lot more, but as it's come down, they haven't dropped their price because they get hooked on the revenue or whatever. Now, that's fine if that's what it takes, but my feeling is when I build a product, I try to make it efficient, make sure we're not wasting anything, but I also roughly go, well, that seems to be a good price point for the product, and we try to work for that. I don't know why other companies charge so much. I still haven't really quite worked it out. Even though we've acquired companies and looked at all their books and all their data, I still don't know why. I mean, we do what we do, and other people do what they do. But often they do very, very well. We do what we do, and we do well. I think people are different, and they do different things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's one thing I love about this industry, and if you walk around the NAB show floor, there's a number of different companies doing all kinds of different things. And that's what's exciting about this industry. So I don't think there's anything wrong with charging a lot of money for something if you have to. We don't charge as much. I don't know why other people do, but we just do our best, and this is what it is. It's not like there's any real thing. I don't really know. I'm so focused on what we do, I often don't really notice what other people are doing. I mean, I can see the companies we've acquired. I know, I guess I'm rambling because I don't know how to answer the question because I'm not quite sure, It's kind of a complex question, I guess. I'd probably have to investigate more, but I'm quite focused on what we do. I have this philosophy I say with the guys, we don't like to wander around other people's booths or really look at what other people are doing too much. It's just like, let's do our thing, and we've got 100% control over what we do, 0% control over what other people do. So let's not worry too much about them. Let's just make great things and make the customers happy, and that's exciting. I was a post-production engineer, and I always felt good when people were happy, the client walked out happy, and I still feel happy when people are surprised or excited by what we do, and I think that's exciting. But
well, I guess it's probably not that important, I guess, from users' perspective.
Yeah,
yeah.
The pricing question's hard. It's difficult. I don't quite know. I'm so focused on our things that I often don't notice what's going on, which sounds weird because you probably assume I'm some big wise guy, sitting on the top corner of the booth looking down at the world, but I'm not. I'm like in the corner worrying about why the carpet doesn't match against the edge of the booth, or why the overlay under there is not fitting quite right, or why there's no hot tea and coffee for the visitors that we've got coming to the booth or something. It's just all these little things you have to worry about, but you're quite tunnel visioned when you're doing this job. It's the people, your team, and you become your own creative group doing things and then talking to customers. So I focus on our guys and what we're doing and talking to customers and what they're doing, and then we just collaborate, and that's kind of the thing I'm focused on.
Okay, so as you probably know now, our viewers are from China, Hong Kong, Taiwan.
Yeah.
The market and the region is growing fast.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Do you have any words to our viewers or to people who are using your products in the region?
Well, thank you, of course. I mean, that would be, I'm always very thankful when somebody buys one of our products. I mean, it's a very humbling thing. I always feel like when somebody buys our product that they're almost spiritually in their heart buying part of Blackmagic. And we try to do software updates to essentially thank them for what they've done. And we try to use the income and the money from their purchase responsibly so we can make good things so that next year they've got the next thing they need. And often people say to us, just when I think I need a product, you guys build it. And it's great. And I'm happy when people say that. So I think, my first thing to say would be thank you, of course. Otherwise, I would say focus on, creativity. Don't focus on the equipment. Now that's weird. I'm a manufacturer, I make equipment. But that's not important. What's important is the creativity. You know, I say there's 3 things that matter in post-production. You get these 3 things right, and you always do well. The first one is a beautiful environment. When your client arrives, they've got beautiful sofas and nice carpet and, you know, good coffee and really nice environment, beautifully designed, you know, and obviously people in Asia are very good at that. That's a really, I mean, you see shop fit outs in Taiwan and Singapore and places like that, they're beautiful. The attention to detail is great. So a lot of the facilities up in Asia are really good at that. The second thing is showmanship. You know, you don't want to be out in the equipment room playing with cables and decks and things. You want to be in there with the client, keeping their energy level high, talking to them about the shoot and their family and just, you know, keeping them excited and fun. And the third thing is great creativity. You know, you do awesome creative work and you've got design, you've got the guys with skills in, you know, arts degrees or, you know, skills like that, you know, guys are obsessed with fonts and colour and things like that. Great creative crew. And if you can do great creativity, when that client walks out the door, they go, wow, I so like work coming here. It's so exciting. And they do things with my work that I'd never even dreamed they would. And my job looks so much better than what I expected it to look. My vision was this, but they took it to this. And if you get those 3 things right, you will do well. So my feeling would be there, you know, focus on those things. The equipment doesn't matter. We've made the equipment lower cost so that creative people can afford it. And the creative people run things. And they are in control. They have control of their destiny. So my thing would be they're the 3 things to focus on. None of those things are about equipment. You know, it's about the people and the creativity.
Nice
you know.
said. And I'm sure most people will agree with you.
Yeah, I think if anyone that's looked at post-production or been in the industry for a while, they can see patterns.
Yeah.
Some facilities do very well. Some of the larger facilities don't do that well nowadays because they're too obsessed about some technical thing that's going to save them. And I often say to the larger facilities, you guys have got the capability of doing big, complex jobs. You've got to go and pursue those complex jobs. Don't try and trick people with equipment. Think about big, complicated jobs. They're just tools. They are the foundation that help you excite your customer and be creative for your customer. That's what they do. They want to, you know, they help you do 2 of those 3 points. Focus on the carpet and the coffee, and focus on the creativity and the people. That's what matters.
Okay, last question. So what's next? What will we see? I mean,
well, at NAB 2014, we're going to announce. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. That's what's funny. I actually don't know what we'll be doing this time next year. Got some rough ideas, but you know, you talk to people and you think about it, and you kind of come back from the show and look at the products you've launched, and you start to think, well, you know, where could we go from here? And often it takes me months to think about what we're going to do, but we've got a really good crew of engineers and very smart people. And
any new interesting idea you want to share?
Well, it's hard to tell at the show. What normally happens is we all come back and we have big long conversations in our cafe. We've got a big cafe with beautiful big wooden benches and nice lights and coffee machine and really nice. And we all kind of hang out there. We talk about what happened at the show, and I talk to this guy. Oh, really? What did he say there? And we talk to this guy. And so everyone's stories come together, and we start to think about, well, we could do this for these guys and solve that problem here. And after a couple of months, it starts to sort of condense out, and we start to think, yeah, we could build this or we could build that. And you start to look for technologies or chips or what we need to develop. We might need to develop whole new technologies. We might need to, you know, get to new levels of miniaturization and things like that. So sometimes an idea you have can't be a product for years. Like that Smart Scope Duo, 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted to build that product, and we wanted to do it pretty much as it was, but then we're like, oh, it's going to be very difficult. Let's do it as a software tool first. So we did the Ultrascope product, which works on a PC or a Mac. And that was like the first step. And we go, okay, we like those scopes, they're good. But then it's like, okay, well now let's build them into the rack. But oh no, the processing's really difficult, and we've got to, you know, chips aren't really, you know, ready yet. They're not fast enough. We don't have enough memory bandwidth and things, because, you know, every time a pixel comes in, you've got to draw the line between the pixels on the waveform. And that's hundreds of pixels you've got to draw for every single HD pixel that comes in. That's a lot of GPU power. So then we thought, well, let's release it as a dual monitor. So we released the product as a dual monitor. And then we spent another year or 2 working on it. And finally this year, now shipping, is Smart Scope Duo. It's taken like 5 years to get to that point. So sometimes an idea has to just wait for a while for the technology to catch up, for you to develop the things you need to develop, and then finally one day you're there, and it's so happy when you see it running after you've waited for so long. It's like having Christmas every 5 years instead of every year. It's slow and time you know, consuming, but sometimes that's the product. Other products, they come together quite quickly. It's really so random that it's actually really hard to predict anything. You don't really know what's going to happen, and I had no idea that we'd be doing this time last year. It just takes a while to condense
out.
out.
You don't want to tell us.
I don't know. I just simply don't know.
Thank you, Grant.
So, no, it was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you.